easy go.
Hey guys, Acronym here with some Borderlands 2. I just wanted to talk to you guys about some of my favorite builds of Maya. And one of my favorites, the first thing we'll be going into, is the nurse build. And now, for a nurse, what I usually do is I'll grab Mind's Eye for, and I'm on the community patch for anything that might seem a little bit different. For the crit damage, obviously, and the accuracy, it's helpful if you're going for like shotguns or something, or anything really. Accuracy always equals damage. I'll spec into Sweet Release because, well, look at it boosted from the Legendary Nurse. Now, on most builds, I won't wear the on solo builds, I won't wear the Legendary Nurse, but with the Legendary Nurse, you can create up to 10 orbs, and each can heal up to 15% of your maximum health. And now, that 15%, it might not seem a lot, but it's percentage based. So, if you health stack with Maya, which I know is not something a lot of people think you should do, you can get this to heal a lot. Excuse me. And that's up to 15% each orb. Now, I'm bad at math, real quick. That's 150%, never mind. That is if all 10 heal that exact 15%, you can get up to 150% of your maximum health back. Now that's just fucking insane. So, the next one I'll grab is usually Wreck. And now that's just 50%, 30% while something's phase locked. Now, I can't show you guys the effects of it and everything because I'm in Sanctuary, but like, that 50% and 30% is absolutely like insane, especially on high fire rate guns like an Anarchist or the Infinity. And the next one I'll grab if I'm in co-op is Res. Because the extra fight for your lifetime, yeah, I guess it's helpful. I've never really felt a difference, but it's good for co-op play all around. And if I'm in co-op, I'll also grab Restoration, which boosted can heal up to 60%, or yeah, it converts 60% of the damage you deal into healing for your friends, which is, it may not seem like much, but it is insane. I've had this skill save raiding parties, like on the dragons, which we should probably do a video on. I think that'd be fun. KOTCP and King Balsong Waltz, the three of us, we like to run around and raid. For the dragons, KOTCP will be up in their face with Sal, and I can just shoot through him and keep him topped off, because it doesn't matter if you're Sal or not. The dragons are a tough fight, and it's good to just keep them topped off with Restoration, I think. And the next one I like to grab is Elated. Just boosted by the Nurse Comm is even better, because when you have an enemy phase lock, you and your friends, I didn't even notice it was your friends, regenerate health, and that is 10% of your max health a second. Now, if you use Quicken over here in the motion tree, it increases the cooldown rate of your phase lock ability. You can have phase lock up so often, and if you use Suspension and boost it to 10 with this class mod here, you can get, I believe it's 5 seconds added to your phase lock duration when it's already 5. Meaning, if you have all the boosted Suspension and Elated, you're getting 100% of your max health back. That is 10% per second for 10 seconds. So 100% of your health back within the duration of your phase lock. Now, I don't usually grab Recompense. while it is good, it is I don't like it. It's more of a personal preference thing for me. Uh, because you have a lot more, or you have a lot less health compared to enemies. So when you take health damage, where it might be a third of your health, it won't be a third of their health. Like on Op 8, which is usually what I play on, as you can tell from my gear here, overpower. Uh, the next I will grab is Sustenance. Regenerates up to 6% of your missing health every second when it's boosted, which I think is nice. It's just a constant health regen, and it's super nice to get. Uh, another reason to health stack with Maya, and Life Tap. Another one of my favorite skills, even when it's not boosted. It's 6% lifesteal, and that's half of a ruby. And when you shoot as fast as Maya does, that's a lot of damage. And the next dog grab is usually the cooldown, or the Scorn. I was going to talk about its cooldown, so the word was in my mind. Scorn, which is just a slag ball that slags things. It's a nice slagging utility, and if you're off host and have a lot of latency, you can rebind your melee button to your mouse wheel and throw like 30 of those things. It's sick. But and yeah, the community patch lowers its cooldown to 10 seconds. And that's usually all I grab for this tree. Um Over here, I will grab, like, it really depends on my mood on which one of these two that I grab. I love Ward if you're going for a tanky style. And then, as we talked about with suspension earlier, a boosted suspension will get you an extra 5 seconds to your 5-second duration. And then Converge is amazing to have. And most times, this is probably where I'll stop in this tree, while there are some other amazing skills here. I love to grab Foresight and Immolate, because Foresight gives you that 20% mag size and 25% reload speed. It's an amazing utility to have just in your back pocket. And the way Immolate works is, see, it adds incendiary damage. So 50% of your current gun damage is added as incendiary damage. It's not 50% incendiary, 50% gun. It's 100% gun plus 50% incendiary. So you're getting 150% damage out of a 100% damage gun. So say if I fired my Sandhawk here, it deals. I have to open up a calculator for this to be extreme for me to do this math right, because I'm bad. But if you have, since it does 144,520 damage, it'll do that flat damage plus its dot, but we're not going to factor in dot. If we divide that by 2, it'll be doing 72,260 damage in incendiary. So if we take 72,260 and add 144,520, you're dealing a total of 216,780 with a gun that doesn't do that much damage. So it's a flat damage boost in Fight of Your Life, and it's a great way to get back up. Now, Cloud Kill. How do I go about putting that? Cloud Kill used to be crap, to be completely honest. Its damage didn't scale. Like, it was good in normal mode. It was decent in TVHM, but once you got into UVHM and you were going through the op levels, the damage was terrible. But after what I like to call the Maya update, it's the last update that Gearbox released, Cloud Kill was buffed, and now it's almost kind of sort of broken. So I'll usually grab it, but if I feel like doing some like damage testing and stuff, I won't grab it. Now, another one of my favorite skills to grab is Chain Reaction. Just because of the extremely fun stuff you can do with Chain Reaction. Again, I can't show you guys here because I'm in Sanctuary. Oh, that's the wrong button. I apologize. Because I'm in Sanctuary. But you have a 40% chance for your bullets to ricochet off any enemy, while you have an enemy phase locked. And now here's where it all depends on how I'm feeling or what I'm doing here. What I like to do is I like grabbing either Inertia or Reaper, because Reaper is good for the increased gun damage, and Inertia is good for just adding a bit of tankiness to Maya, like Inertia or Kinetic Reflection. It just adds a bit of tankiness to Maya that she doesn't normally get. I personally love Inertia, because like even at 3 points, 2.4% of your max shield a second isn't bad, and a 30% reload. And the stuff I'll usually wear with that is like an Evolution or a Sham, if I want a slightly less tanky shield. A Legendary Nurse. Yeah, this is my co-op build, so I'll usually wear my Legendary Nurse. Like a Crossfire. That should probably be a low-level one. A Crossfire, like a Quasar or a Magic Missile. The Magic Missile and the Crossfire are mostly for slagging and stuff. But I like to have my Quasar so I can group things up for Chain Reaction and stuff with Converge. And it's just... With that build, I like to use my Tatler. Just for healing. Sandhawk's just a generally good gun. I love the longbow. I'll use it in almost any situation, and my Twister here isn't really something I'd usually use in my nurse build, but it is pretty decent. Okay, and now on to my nurse-ish build for solo. What I'll do is I'll wear the legendary Siren, and I'll put 1 point into Mind's Eye, 5 into Sweet Release, 5 into Wreck, 5 into Elated, 5 into Sustenance, Life Tap, and Scorn. And then I'll come over here, and I'll put, I believe, 1 into Ward, no, 4 into Ward, and then 1 into Accelerate. I'll grab Suspension, Converge, and Kinetic Reflection. And then I'll grab Foresight, Immolate, Chain Reaction, and now this is where the build kind of all depends on what I'm feeling with getting down to these last 9 skill points. A lot of the time what I'll do is I'll grab Cloud Kill, and then I'll split up the 8 points by putting usually 2 into Mind's Eye first, and then like 3 into Quicken and 3 into Reaper. And this is pretty much my solo, like, tanky nurse-ish build. And that's my sort of tanky build for Maya. So next we'll be moving on to my more glass cannon kind of like really high... Oops, bumped the mic. Really high like DPS sort of build. So this I just recently revised, but the first thing I'll do is I'll grab Foresight for the extra mag size. Obviously, it's just always a good all-around buff. Grab Immolate because, you know, I already explained all the math. Grab Chain Reaction, Cloud Kill, Reaper, and most of the time I'll just put like 4 into Flicker, and then grab Rune. For the Harmony tree, I'll grab Mind's Eye, Sweet Release, and Wreck, and that's it. For The motion tree has always been one of my favorite Maya trees. Um, I'll usually grab 5 into accelerate, grab suspension, converge, inertia, quicken, and here's where sometimes it changes a bit. Like sometimes I'll go over to cataclysm and grab like Helios for the extra fire damage on phase lock. But what I like to do is grab ward and kinetic, or not, and not and and not sometimes kinetic reflection. I'll switch it with inertia every now and then, but I'm a big fan of inertia because of the way it works with regenning shield. It's just a good way to get Maya just a little bit more tanky. Now for the gear, I'll obviously just put on a legendary cat, usually with like a like like a shock bone, because usually the main weapon I use for like legendary cat Maya is a shock sandhawk. Usually I have my Tatler on there for the fire damage. I'll switch out my longbow for like a grog nozzle for healing, and the twister is usually in a lot of my loadouts for gear and stuff, but sometimes I'll switch it out for like the butcher or the Becca. Sometimes even the torrent, which in the vanilla game without the community patch is the emperor. Um, or sometimes even the sloth, because Maya makes the sloth really good because she speeds up its slow projectiles, just like the sandhawk and the Tatler. It's always good to have a Pimpernel. Mine shock. It's sort of ideal to have a slag one because it's one of the best slagging utilities in the game. And for a grenade for my DPS build, I'll usually use like a Quasar or a Stormfront. And with the bee, just because of that really high amp damage, and like this is my super glass cannony, everything's gonna kill you if you don't kill it first sort of build. Um, like I'm gonna go down to the testing dummy for you guys and show you how the sort of damage that this Maya can put out. It's like that's 24 million damage from one Sandhawk shot. Uh, kind of OP, but it's not the usual build I'll run. The build I've been running a lot lately is I call it a pistol build. Its skills aren't much different from my glass cannon build, but um, I find it to be really fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that one too. The next build I run is my pistol build, as I was saying, and I'm gonna go over gear for that one first, because the gear for it's a little interesting. I use a fire stalker with a Vladoff grip and a fire rate prefix that I actually got as a world drop. Fun fact. I was in the fridge farming for a gunnerang so I could speed kill Hyperius, and this just dropped out of one of the ice spikes that pop up. But and I'll throw on like a corrosive infinity for anything that might resist fire, like armored enemies, which are weak to uh, corrosive anyway. Um, and then like in place of the twister, I don't know. I almost never use the herald. Like these are my main pistols really. Like a lot of the time I'll have both of my infinities equipped. So if I don't feel like shooting the stalker, I can just switch to a fire infinity. And then I usually have a grog on for like, or I should say I usually don't have a grog on. Like I'll have my lady fist or something, or like my Tatler, because the Tatler's my favorite SMG in the game. I'll put on an evolution and a legendary binder, and I'll usually put on like the magic missile or the crossfire with this one. I've been meaning to grab a slag transfusion, but it just hasn't been on my list of things to do. Um, oh yeah, and the sheriff's badge for that pistol damage. I don't actually know if this is the best one you can get, because I have never used the sheriff's badge before. I play Maya, not Salvador. Um, but what I'll usually do is I'll grab Sweet Release and Wreck, also Mind's Eye, and Sustenance. And then I'll grab Foresight, and this is where this build sort of splits, because I like Helios, and a lot of the time I'll put like 4 points into Immolate and 1 into Helios, which is what we're going to do here. And then I'll grab Kinetic Reflection, Cloud Kill, and Reaper. And a lot of the time, again, with this tree... Actually, no, I'm going to revise this build right here on camera, because I feel like it. I'm going to put 5 into Life Tap and grab Scorn for this build. And then I'll grab Ward, because I like it better than Accelerate. Suspension, Converge, Kinetic Reflection, and then 4 points into Quicken. And this is a slight revision to the build as it was before, but this is my pistol build, which is the one I've been running a ton lately. It's good for like mobbing and stuff, but when it comes to general general boss fights and stuff, I will never really, like, if I'm farming a boss, it depends on how hard the boss is, but most bosses, if I'm farming them, I won't use my pistol build, because I got bar tokens to spend, okay? A lot of bosses have too high of a health pool to be using my pistol build. Like, it's got really decent DPS and everything, but not as much as like a good old B-Hawk will get you for farming bosses. But this is the build I'll run for like mobbing, or like if I'm playing co-op and I don't feel like playing a nurse, I'll take like 1 point out of Quicken or something, or like, I don't know, something like that, and put it into res for the freaking revives on people with phase lock. And I always have loved Scorn as a slagging utility rather than Ruin, because I feel like Ruin is it's useful, yes, but it's also a very cheap slag tool, and unless you use Converge and like a couple Quasars or something, you're not getting enough enemies slagged reliably. But Scorn, when you throw it, it's just this slag ball that flies forward, and it will shoot beams out to slag anything it passes. Sure, it's not a guaranteed slag, but it's pretty darn close. And those are really my builds for Maya. The Bada Boom I have in here is for rocket jumping. I like the Storm, the Florentine, all these things in here are mostly personal preference guns. Some bones and like a Blood of the Seraphs. A lot of the stuff I carry around is just kind of like personal preference that I find fun to use, but it's also rather good. And really, that's all I've got. Those 3 builds, was that 3? It was kind of like 3.5. Those 3.5 builds for Maya are the ones that I prefer to use, and I think they're pretty well crafted. I'm pretty sure there could be revisions, like 1 point from here could go over here or something like that. But that is all I've got time for. So, if you all liked it, like, comment, share the video if you want to. And this has been Acronym, and I'll see all you guys in the next one. Bye.